Good Saturday, May the 4th. Oh, I didn't think I was going to be here today. I'm not even supposed to be here today. Oh, viewers. Some people just are born to, I don't know, just they need attention. And I'm going to give it to them. I'm willing. What's going on, everybody? We have a viewer who's somehow butthurt. So I figured I would give them a chance to, I don't know, call me out. You know, I've been dealing with it all morning, so let's see. I sent an invite. I'm waiting. And I mean, we'll have a conversation if they have the courage to show. There was a meme that I put up. It's always a meme. It's always a meme. Phone's not ringing. Go shocker. What a shocker. What's going on, everybody? May the 4th be with you. Yes, and tomorrow is Revenge of the 5th. Why is it that it's right before dinner? We're just about ready to settle down. Hayden has a friend over. Ethan is spending the night at a friend's house. And there's a post that I put up earlier, which is, see, people don't understand the difference between Palestine and Philistines. And that's because people don't read books. People get their information from the internet. And they don't invest in actually taking some time to research a topic that's thousands of years old that they can't possibly understand by themselves. And they attempt to through Wikipedia and stuff like that. And unfortunately, a lot of this stuff needs to be explained. It's not something that can be learnt in a short period of time. And it takes years. Now, luckily, I've taken a little bit of effort to understand the Middle East. And it's not just it's not a passion per se, but it's something that I did for a living. So I take it kind of personal when people come in and pretend that they understand what's going on simply because they've watched the news, or they have a Jewish friend or a Palestinian friend. And they really don't invest in trying to understand the subtle intricacies of the Middle East, and that it's complex. It's not about one side or the other. It's not about one group of people versus the other. It has more to do with that it is a chicken and the egg type situation. And when you're trying to assign causality for what's happening in the Middle East, you're going to fail. Because that understanding has validity on both sides. Where if you're going to go ahead and talk about Palestine, or you're going to talk about Jews, or you're going to talk about Arabs, or Sunni, or Kurds, or Shias, or whatever, you're going to find validity in all of their arguments based upon the perspective of the aforementioned group of people. Because the true cataclysmic event that fired all of this off is lost throughout history. There is no right or wrong side. And that's what makes it interesting, because cause and effect has created multiple viewpoints that are all legitimate based upon who you are and what viewpoint you align with the most. So when you have that, where maybe it all started over a stray sheep or a goat or a piece of land or a ceremonial jar, it doesn't matter what it started over. Nobody truly knows why. If you're going to take it back to the beginning of this feud, and you can say it was people from the Aegean Sea, you can say it was nomads, you can say it was rival tribes, you can say it started in Judea, you can say it started with the Philistines. It doesn't matter what you say, because you don't know, and I don't know. So if you can't summarily and chronologically lay it out and find point A and point B of why this started, you have to go ahead and work yourself backwards. And that's the problem with most people, is they don't work backwards. They start with 1940, or they start with 1830, or they start with 300, or they start with CE or AD or BC. And they take it from a certain perspective and then try to go ahead and add up all of the different results to get to a conclusion, and that's the wrong thing to do. You have to disprove things when it comes to the narrative of Jews and Muslims and anyone in between, if you want to try to understand the Middle East. And the first rule of Fight Club is don't mention Fight Club. The first rule of understanding the Middle East is don't pretend you know everything about the Middle East, because you don't. And you must be a student. This person got me on, and obviously is just a complete waste of life. I'm waiting to see. Nope. Janet's a coward. And you know what? I knew it. And I knew it when I was like, you know what? I'm sitting here writing. And I was like, this person won't come on. So I'm going to embarrass this person, because this is what I believe needs to take place. See, I put myself out there to allow people to embarrass me on any occasion, if they think they actually have the testicular fortitude, or the intestinal fortitude, or the vaginal fortitude to come on and do that. But the thing is I wouldn't be embarrassed, because I don't get embarrassed. I don't put myself in a position where I can feel embarrassed, because I don't take on indefensible positions. I don't allow myself to get trapped that way, because I have felt plenty of times in my life stupid or ill-informed, and I don't like the feeling. And in fact, it's when I'm at my worst. And if it happens, it's usually by accident, but never intentional. And when I get that way, my viewers know that I tend to get very petulant and get on a little tirade or become a very, large man baby. And usually it's because I've treated somebody in a way that they don't deserve to be treated. And that is when I get the most frustrated with myself, whether it be Olivia or Leroy or Amy or possibly a viewer. And although it's happened on rare occasions, and usually I'm justified in my disposition, when it does happen, and I will make an apology, and it usually happens right then at that moment, and I'll say, or a few minutes after, where I'll be like, you know what, I came across a certain way and I apologize. But you can't sit here and, because you're not happy with what just took place, because you don't like the icky feeling that it caused you, it doesn't mean you get to go ahead and attempt to combat what I said with emotional diarrhea. Let me give you this example. Sometimes people get confused And I recognize that, and I'm okay with it. I'm okay that people get confused. I'm okay that sometimes people will blame me and say, "Oh, Don't Unfriend Me was rude to me." First of all, my name's not Don't Unfriend Me. So when people do that and they go, the Don't Unfriend Me show, I know they've never watched my show. And I know this because they start making wild accusations that are unfounded. And just in case my friend Janet is incapable of learning how to click a link, I'll give her the phone number. And we'll see if Janet calls in. Because I'm not particularly upset with Janet. I don't even know who the hell Janet is. In fact, I don't know most people who interact with me. In fact, I don't know anything about you. And therefore, with respect, you're very, it's insignificant who you are to me. I just don't care. But it doesn't mean that I'm not willing to make an effort to invest into you to find out if you are worth it. I think that's a fair trade-off, right? Is you obviously care about what I think. So I should make the effort to find out what you think to see if you're actually worth further investment. Because human interaction to me is pivotal to my success or failure. Because the study of other people is something I enjoy. And I learn a multitude of things. I learn new vocabulary. I learn vocabulary I don't want to use. I learn other deductive reasoning tactics. And then I also learn people who have their heads so far up their posterior that their eyes are brown, even though they're green. I learn methodology. I learn ideology. I learn existential perspective. I learn things about theoretical application. I learn sociological perspective. I learn geopolitical nuance. I love talking to people. I even learn things that I have no earthly idea about. Like I listen to Neil Tyson Degrassi and I learn about astrophysics. And even though I couldn't formulate even the most rudimentary equation to explain physics or motion or perpetual motion or kinetic energy or potential energy or apogee in space. I can't do that, but I can discuss it in a theoretical way. And with deductive reasoning, I can figure it out logically and make sense where Neil Tyson Degrassi and I could have a conversation. And I know I could at least listen and learn and chime in where I will not look like a complete buffoon. But if he asked me to break out the pen and paper or the most advanced calculator in the world and somehow tap out an equation that would prove the theorem, I couldn't do it. Hence, we recognize our limits as people. And that is why I don't get into debates that I lose. For instance, everyone knows my feelings on Nick Fuentes. I don't like Nick Fuentes. First of all, if I wanted to listen to a 22-year-old with a pedo mustache, I would just roll back Milo Yiannopoulos' bullshit that he said and when he was relevant 7-8 years ago. There's nothing that Nick Fuentes can tell me that I can't learn from thousands of years of Jewish persecution of Israelites and all the way back to Judea that I can't learn from reading history books. When the wrong perspective was applied based upon what bigotry truly is. See, bigotry is not racism. Bigotry is not the choice to not like someone because of their socioeconomic status or because of their race or their color or their creed or their sexual disposition. That's not what bigotry was about. Bigotry simply, which generated from the early 1600s, was religious dogma that people chose not to embrace and replaced it with a different ideology. And people who had found the answer through religious means castigated these people out in writings, in verbal conversations throughout history. And a bigotry was applied based on religious perspective. That's what bigotry was. And it's changed now. Why? Well, because leftists have to go ahead and find new words for things that they don't necessarily want to imbibe. And not from a sense of liquidity, but from absorbing by osmosis certain things that make them feel icky with words that were used in the past. Let me give you an example. They can't say illegal alien because they find the word illegal, although descript, to be, thank you, Liv, a word that they can't necessarily say, because although it is the very definition of what's happening, when you take the word illegal and you take the word alien, although is by all definition means to be foreign, and although alien is supposed to be a little Martian with green eyes that flies in a saucer, it's still foreign to this land. It is all that alien means. However, we have now assigned a moniker to it that it's somehow derogatory. The action is derogatory, therefore, which is a self-endowment of the title. You chose to break the law, therefore you are now an illegal alien. You've done something illegal on this land and you are a foreigner. You are an illegal alien. Well, the left doesn't like that. So now it's undocumented asylum seeker, which has nothing to do. It's all true. You are undocumented and you are seeking asylum, although you may not have earned it. And you illegally entered our country and you are a foreigner, therefore you are an illegal alien. But you can go ahead and piss on me and tell me it's raining, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's true. So the left does this. And dare I say that the alt-right, they do the same. See, they can't say dirty Jew anymore, or nasty, filthy Jew, or kike. See, they can't say those words. Because if they say those words, they'll lose the portion of the audience that doesn't agree with them, that makes them feel icky, and they'll lose their ability to be on Twitter or X. And if you just ask Nick Fuentes, the language that he uses now is, I'm the victim. What did I do? What did I say that was so wrong with those nasty, vermin, rat-infested sewer Jews? Those nappy-headed Afro Jews. See, and that's the difference, is Nick Fuentes has learned that saying those things will get him summarily banned from all the channels that he wants to peruse. And Nick Fuentes doesn't need X. He doesn't need Facebook. He doesn't need YouTube. I do. Because he has developed a following that when he is off those channels can say whatever he wants, and often does. But then when he gets involved in mass media or mass publications or gets put in the limelight, will all of a sudden be more acquiesced to the request of the people who are channeling him, who are giving him a platform, and then he'll play nice. He still says some very left field stuff that would be considered dangerous, but it curtails to the audience that he is in front of. And now he is coming on, now that Elon Musk has decided to platform Nick Fuentes. Nick is like, oh, well, I'm just tickled pink. I will absolutely follow the law and not break the law, which he has not broken the law. There's nothing that he has said. He hasn't called for the execution of Jews. He hasn't called for the genocide of Jews. He hasn't called for the condemnation of Israel. He thinks that Jews are greedy. He thinks that Jews are conniving. He thinks that they're shysters. He thinks that they are kikes. He thinks that they don't deserve it, that they're evil, and that they that 0.45% of, or 0.045% of the population in the world is responsible for 99% of what's wrong with it. That's what he believes. And guess what? Fuck him. But I will die defending his right to say it. And in fact, I don't think Nick Fuentes should ever have been banned. I think Nick Fuentes should be platformed on every channel. I would love to have Nick Fuentes on here, but he won't come on my show because he knows he can't elevate me to the point he wants to. That's why all the little groypers tried. And I will agree with him on some things. And I will fervently fight the facts, and I will push them to his face and stop doing what other people do, which is allow him to go ahead and run circles and change the topic and do whataboutism and simply go ahead and just inundate people with things that really don't fucking matter. Because the question that I would have for Nick isn't, please recite to me all of the things that you think Jews have done that's wrong in the world, because that's immaterial to the conversation. The question that I would ask is, how do Jews impact you? And why do you dislike them so much? And when he can't tell me that, because what he'll do is, oh, they deplatformed me, they did this. No. That's not what I asked you. How do Jews impact your life in a negative way? Oh, well, I believe in American first, and I believe in patriotism, and they don't do that. And then they make us go fight wars in Iraq, and then they sink the USS Liberty and Rothschild and 9/11. And let's go back to what they think about Christians, and let's go back to this and this and this and this. Let's talk about the Hasidic Jews. Let's talk about the Talmud. Let's talk about what they think about Jesus is sitting in hell, and he's sitting in his own fecal matter, and he's being defecated upon. No. Stop. That's not what we're talking about. Those are the things that you espouse to get other people to malign with your thought process, which is tainted and completely disenfranchised with reality. What I'm asking you is, why do you specifically not like Jews? And he won't be able to answer that question because you can't define hate. That is why hate speech is a complete myth, because there's no such thing as hate speech, because it's defined internally by somebody's thought process that can't be written, that can't be sung about, which a poet cannot go ahead and turn into some haiku or some written writing, because nobody has lived the life that you've lived, and nobody can surmise all of the things you've been through to define why hate in you is justified. Only you can do that. And we lack the ability to explain it, just like we can't explain love to its fullest potential, because if we could teach it, we could package it, we could sell it. Now we try with dildos and chocolates and wonderful Valentine's Day cards. We try to do it with movies and angry music to sell the hate that we have, and horrible books. But ultimately, you have to define why you love, why you hate, and why you feel the way you do. And what I have found is, in this mortal plane, nobody is able to go ahead and do it effectively and repackage it to sell people on that, unless they prescribe to them the reasons why. And that is a completely different story than uncovering it yourself. See, it's not that hating Jews is some phenomenon that we've never experienced before. It's that it's passed down and it's a learned behavior. And it's learned when you read a certain series of books or watch a certain series of shows, or have a certain type of conversation with a person. And these ideas come about because you start looking for things to justify your own biases. Let me give you an example. Jake Shields is a fantastic example of this. Jake Shields is a professional MMA fighter who's won 6 world championships, I believe. He's a handsome guy. He's had a good life. And by all intents and purposes, he hates Jews. Now, how dare you say I hate Jews? What do you mean? I only talk about them in derogatory fashion every single chance I get. I only blame them for everything that's wrong in the world. I only go ahead and call them the opposite of those names, those monikers that are the no-no words. But instead of saying that they're rats that come up from the sewer or they're vermin, I just say something different now. I say they're creepy crawlies who come up from the tunnels, who have a rodent-like behavior. So you may not say sewers, and you may not say filthy Jew, but everybody knows what you mean because those monikers are emblazoned upon the minds of our great-grandparents, our uncles, great-grandpas, grandmas who fought that fucking war and came home and told us the story, or they fled Nazi Germany and told us about the camps. And you try to trivialize the experience, and you try to make it something it's not because you never experienced it. But the difference is Jake Shields has. He's been to Jerusalem. He's been to Israel. He worked alongside the IDF like I did. He taught them and trained them hand-to-hand combat. He worked with the Jews and took money from the Jews. And because now he has had his eyes opened, he has went from supporting Jews to almost idolizing Jews to now hating them. Something happened between A and Z. And the question that I would ask Jake is why? Well, they bombed people and then the USS Liberty and 9/11. No. What happened to you? What did Jewish people do to you? And very rarely do I get the answer to that question when I ask. You guys heard the Groypers who came on. And I asked them the question, why do you hate Jews? I don't hate anyone. I'm a Christian and I love everybody. Yeah. Why do you hate them? Because you pretend that you don't, but you won't date a Jew. You don't know any Jews. You won't spend time with Jews. You won't do anything that has anything to do with Jews. You constantly, every minute of the day, blame them for everything that's wrong in your life. You insult them with derogatory terms that are underhanded and don't quite hit the point of the tales of yesteryear, but they do scratch the surface and everybody knows what you're talking about because not all of us are automaton knuckle draggers who follow you to the nth degree simply because you say so when you say the sun is shining and it's dark or it's light and then you say it's dark. Just because you say so, the sun does not rise and set in the west and the east or the opposite simply because you make it so. But there are people who believe these people. And if you ask them the question, not do you hate Jews or do you dislike Jews? It's what are the reasons that you feel the way you do? The answer will always come back because Nick Fuentes told me so, because Jake Shields told me so. Because that's the honest answer. If a gun is to their head and they're strapped to a chair and the answer is you have 10 seconds or you're going to feel what 987 some odd miles an hour going through your head in a right spiral is going to feel like, the answer will be because Nick Fuentes told me so and I like Nick Fuentes. Because Jake Shields told me so and I like Jake. Because Stu Peters said it, so therefore I agree. Because Alex Jones told me, so therefore I believe. That is the truth. And you may not like that. That may bother you, but that is the truth. Just like when I talk to the dummies and say, tell me about the election. Now, if I go ahead and say, what made you believe that the election was stolen? They'll tell me that they heard the Q rumblings. They heard Donald Trump say it. They saw investigations. They saw watermarked ballots. They had Dinesh D'Souza come up and tell them about 2,000 mules. And they will give you this litany of stuff. But then you ask them, well, why did you stop believing? And they will tell you, because Matt Spear told me to. You may not like to hear that, and the people who are in here right now might go, whoa, wait a second, that's not true. I don't do it because yes, you did. And you know you did. But the question is, did you validate what I said? And I guarantee you, most everyone in here will say that they did. That is the difference between these little followers and people who are free thinkers. And that is why my channel doesn't have 2 million people on it. And it doesn't make the money Benny does it. And it's not because I'm not smart enough. It's not because I'm not affable enough. It's not because I'm an asshole. It's because I tell the truth. And I don't placate to your emotions and your feelings. I don't sit here and coddle you and believe that I can't tell you exactly what my opinion is and then back it up with factual evidence and have you come to the conclusion that most people do if they do the work. It's not that the people in this channel and the dummies are brainwashed. It's that they've been presented an idea that I gave them and said, this is what I think. And then they went and validated it. They can tell you individually why they don't believe in the election, of that it was stolen. But they can also tell you where the original idea came from. And they can say, well, Matt talked about it on his show. And when I came in here, I hated what he said. I didn't agree with him. And then over listening for 3.5 years, I actually agree with everything he says. And here's why. That is very different than I hate Jews. Why? It's not hate, I dislike them. Okay, why? And the only real answer is somebody told me not to like Jews. Great. How many Jews do you know? None. I don't talk to Jews. How many have you dated? Fuck that. I won't date a Jew. Name the food you've eaten. I will never eat that shyster food. So you haven't done any research, you haven't read any books, you won't listen to any Jews, you hate Ben Shapiro, you hate anyone in Hollywood, you hate lawyers, you hate Netanyahu, you hate the IDF, you hate everything that they stand for. And honestly, if you really want to get down to it, here is the answer that you don't want to hear, is that Jesus Christ is a Jew and the Jews will inherit the earth. They are the chosen people and you're fucking jealous of them. That's why you hate them. It's the reason most people hate and dislike is jealousy. They can't get the money. They're not as good looking. They don't have the ability. They're not the chosen ones. They've got bigger dicks. They got bigger tits, whatever it would be. They got a nicer car, a nicer house, a beautiful lawn, whatever it is, it's jealousy. And instead of embracing that, instead of holding on to that and saying, you know what, I recognize how I feel, and I should address it, you latch onto the hate, you latch onto the vitriol, and you espouse it to anyone who will listen, and then you bully people who don't agree with you. Look around. They control our entire country. Yes, 0.46% of the United States and world control. Please give me specific examples. Please tell me how much the state of Israel is worth. Please tell me the overall GNP of Jews in the United States. Asians invest more money and have more money in the United States than any other racial demographic. Why don't you hate Asians? China has invested more money into the U.S. debt than any other country on the fucking planet. Why do you not hate Chinese? Saudi Arabia is the second highest investor, followed and predated by Japan in the 1990s. Why don't you hate the Japanese? Why aren't you condemning the Sauds? Qatar has put in $346 billion, I say with a B, in the last 12 years into college campuses across the United States. They have bought over $1.1 trillion of influence when it comes to investment and divergent markets. Please explain to me why you don't hate Qatar. Asia is controlled by the Jew. Get the fuck out of here. Let me tell you the last type of religious group in China who tried to run China. They were called the Uyghurs, and they're still slaved and they're put on their knees every single day. You think Jews run China? Have you ever been to China? What cities have you been to in China? Call into the show. Come and talk to me. Come tell me where you've lived in China. It's not hate. I never said it was hate. I said you're wrong. That's not hate either. Just because you're ignorant does not mean that I hate you. You're like a lot of people who come into this show. You can't back up what you're saying. You're going to use monosyllabic words and vocabulary to say, it is true. Blah, 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 blah. That doesn't prove it. Please answer my questions. Please tell me the overall GNP of Jewish Americans in the United States from a monetary standpoint, from a socioeconomic standpoint. Please tell me. They run the country? How? They don't run it by demographics. They don't run it from a number perspective. They don't run it from a dollar perspective. They don't run it from a religious perspective. Please tell me how. All right, we got a caller. Let's do it. All right, caller, where are you from? Caller, where are you from? Can you hear me? Caller, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Hi, who are Janet. You? Where are you? This is who?
Janet Kazone.
Janet Kazone, you finally called. All right, Janet, since you are the reason I am here on a Saturday that I'm supposed to be spending with my family, I wanted to give you the reason of how I belittled you or how I went ahead and made fun of you. And then I'd like to know why you're questioning my intelligence. I'll go ahead and give you the floor.
I'm not questioning your intelligence at all, sir.
Okay, was this you? I want to make sure. Sad. All lives matter. Stop the division and killing of the men in charge. Hold on, let me finish, please. Of the men in charge, I thought you were smarter, but I'm willing to admit when I'm wrong. That's not questioning my intelligence?
No, that's questioning my intelligence.
I thought you were smarter, so you talk about yourself in the first person when you write? That's awfully strange. Why?
What?
Why do you write in the first person?
That you were more intelligent.
But why would you write in the first person omniscient?
What do you want to talk about?
I want to talk about why you're questioning my intelligence.
I don't want to take away any time of your family. You could call me anytime. You have my number now.
No, that's okay. No, wait. Don't leave. I'm wondering why you would say, I thought you were smarter versus I thought I was smarter.
Okay, I stand corrected. I thought I was smarter.
Okay, I think you're extremely smart. I've heard your voice. I've read your stuff. That's fine. I'll let it go. No big deal. Typo, or you just thought. So what about this meme makes you believe that my level of intelligence is in question? I'm really interested. And here's what it is for the viewers. It says, "Ladies and gentlemen, may I present to you the Museum of Ancient Palestinian History," and it's a group of people looking at blank walls. And I would like to know what's not intelligent about that. What is factually incorrect about that meme?
What is factually incorrect about that meme?
Yes, ma'am.
I didn't know memes were factual. I thought they were an opinion.
That's deflection. Anything can be factual, and the level of words or what's in the photo or the length of the song is really immaterial as long as what's represented by the photo or the statement or the sentence or the song is factual. So this is factual because there's no such thing as ancient Palestinian history. So I'm wondering how that.
I agree.
Okay.
I agree with that.
Then why do you think you're not smart? Because I posted that. I don't understand.
I misunderstood what your meme was. And then you got very offended that.
No, not offended.
I commented.
Do I sound offended, Janet?
I'm not trying to offend. I just thought, I guess I misunderstood you.
Janet, you didn't offend me. I'm being very cordial to you. I'm not raising my voice. I'm not belittling you. I'm asking you a series of questions because I want to get to it. You seem like a nice enough lady, but I won't tolerate it anymore when people say things that I find are not accurate about me. And I think you would want to do the same. And I think you could go on 1,000 pages and tell people that they're not smart, or, that they don't seem to have a soul, because that's the next portion we're going to get to. But they would never interact with you, but that's not me. And in fact, I think that should be something you admire, is somebody who doesn't hide and is willing to have a conversation. This is what I don't understand about our conversation. And I can let it go, but it just doesn't make much sense. You say in your post that stop the division and killing for the men in charge. I looked at your page. You lost your daughter, I believe. Is that correct?
Yes, I did. Okay.
Did you lose her from military, or was it another means? Do you mind if I ask that?
She was killed in a motor vehicle homicide.
I'm so terribly sorry about that. And when I saw that on your page, that's why I reached out. It wasn't to argue with you. It wasn't to have a combat style relationship of words. It was to express my utter condolences. And I can't possibly imagine losing a child. And I'm sorry you had to go through that.
I appreciate it. And I thank you for your kind words.
Yes, ma'am. I don't care about any of this other shit, except that when I saw that, my heart broke. And that's why I wanted you to come on. I did want to find out why you thought I wasn't intelligent, because to me, it's probably one of the things that trigger me the most is I was stupid for a better part of my life because I was ignorant, and I wasn't capable because of ADHD. And I spent a lot of work and a lot of time to develop myself. So I would be considered intelligent. Some people do push-ups and sit-ups and dye their beard. I worked my brain. I just wanted to tell you I'm sorry that you had to go through that. And I hope that you have found some peace and some solace. And I hope they have the person responsible where they deserve to be, in hell or behind bars.
No.
Yeah. I'm
not
sorry
at
about
all.
that. I'm horribly sorry about that.
If you really want to hear what happened,
I do.
And then you can.
Yeah. Let me shut up.
She had just her name was Jessica. She had just turned 19 on December the 5th. On February 19th, the following year, she was driving home from dinner with friends.
Mm-hmm.
And a truck was driving an estimated 67 miles per hour in a 20-mile-an-hour zone on the wrong side of the road, hit her head on, and crushed her to death.
Oh, my God.
He was, and I want you to be very understanding when I say this.
Yes, ma'am.
I forgave him. He did not intentionally kill my daughter.
Yes, ma'am.
But he was the son of a police officer, who I respect. Every police officer, I have utmost respect for military, police, first responders, mothers, fathers. But I have a issue with our justice system.
Yes, ma'am.
He got 500 hours of community service, which he served at his father's police station. And it
doesn't seem quite fair, does it?
13 years. And I don't mean to offend you or anybody listening. And I don't want anybody's pity with this story. And I don't know. I was very triggered because, Palestine, Israel, I'm an American.
Yes, ma'am.
We got a lot of problems in America.
Yes,
that
ma'am.
we need to be concentrating on.
We do.
And I guess, that funny word called triggered. I was triggered.
We get triggered. I get triggered all the time. You should see it on the show. I mean, my God, one thing can set you off, and you have a right to carry some frustration around with you. You've been through a hell of a situation. You have your opinion, and I respect it immensely. Just understand that I believe the only way through this isn't bullets and isn't politics. In fact, I think politicians are the last thing we need. I think it takes education. And I think it's really important. Yeah, I think it's really important for people who say that Palestine was there. I'm not calling for the absolution and destruction of Palestine because there is no Palestine. I'm also not sitting here and saying that Israel doesn't have a responsibility, that there are people within its border that they have to find a livable solution, which they thought they had for 17 years, and still rockets rained on top of their heads consistently. My goal is for people to think, and Janet, honestly, to get triggered, because I think we've been dormant long enough. I think we've been sleepwalking long enough, and I think we need to be angry. And I think we need to learn how to convey that anger. And what we do is we scream and yell at people who don't deserve it. And we should be focusing and directing it towards those people, the aforementioned, whether it be the police or whether it be the government or whether it be politicians. But those are people who are ultimately responsible for your daughter's life, my family's safety, outside of when I can't protect them. It's their job. And that's what their job is to do. I'm with you. But just to be clear with you, well, I don't have any dog in this fight when it comes to Israel and Palestine, but I do have a huge bone to pick with terrorism and the people who I fought a very large portion of my life protecting this country against. And I think that the conversation being Palestine versus Israel is a very large distraction to actually what Israel is trying to do, which is to stop the murder and destruction of their country based upon a group of people and ideologues who want to see them die. So that's my opinion.
I appreciate it.
Yes, ma'am.
I just have a problem with the entire United States. I'm from my dad was a Army veteran.
Mm-hmm.
My daughter just getting ready to retire. My other daughter, 22 years in the Air Force.
Mm-hmm.
I just feel that America's being distracted with this Israel, Palestine. We're talking about college campuses.
Yeah.
There's so many things wrong in our country. And I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong. I just feel that our allegiance with Israel is not in our best interest.
So
Israel's a big country. They can take care of themselves.
Okay. I think it's a really interesting point. Do you mind if I ask you a few questions? Because I would love to shift gears into a conversation about it. And do you mind if I ask you a couple questions?
Of course. Fine.
Cool. Amy, ban Boombox. You're not going to talk about a race of people that way. No. And anytime you feel you want to, what's interesting is that y'all who hate Jews, I'm not talking to you at this point, Janet. I'm talking to a listener. The ones who hate Jews like you believe that anyone who has any Jewish blood is also a Jew. So that makes me a Jew. Anytime you want to come onto my door and say those words to me, you have an open invitation. Just DM me. I'll give you my address. We can go out for a beer and have a conversation. You don't get to say those things. So ban this fucker. Janet, the question I have for you, pardon my language, please. I apologize, but yep. I can't have what that person just said in my chat. So here's my question for you. You say Israel can stand on their own. Do you know what the Iron Dome is by chance?
I believe I do, but
cool.
Please continue.
Yeah, Iron Dome is an integrated air defense system, and that's just a fancy way of saying it's a surface-to-air intercept system that essentially a lot of people think it's actually a physical dome. And this is okay because a lot of people don't follow this type of stuff. But rockets are coming in, and there's some sort of force field or electromagnetic or radio frequency that puts a non-visible dome over Jerusalem and Israel and the sensitive spots of the country. That's not what it is. But essentially, it creates an intercept system that will hit multiple targets simultaneously with advanced overloading style type of intercept missiles. And it's portable, and some of them are fixed. But this entire processes is something that we tried during the Gulf War. You remember the first Gulf War, you remember CNN, and you remember, I think it was, 80, 81, if I'm not mistaken. But the Patriot missile, right? It was the Patriot versus the Scud missile, and Iraq would launch the Scud, and they would go into Israel and Kuwait, and then we would send up Patriots to intercept, and we would miss like 50% of the time. That technology and companies like that developed the Iron Dome, and that is 100% funded by the United States. The estimated amount of missiles that have entered over the last 17 years into Israel are in the hundreds of thousands. They would create these systems. They would get the copper that was supplied by Israel and other countries to Palestine and Gaza. And this was meant to replace the lead pipes in the infrastructure to make sure people had water. They would use pallets upon pallets of these copper pipes and other type of aluminum pipes to create rockets instead to kill Jews. They would take the fuel that they would get to run their generators and to run their air conditionings in the summer in the hospitals and use that fuel and use the other type of elements that they would get to create rockets and explosives and the chemicals that they would get to clean their areas and all of the aid that they would get. Instead of giving it to the people, Hamas would take it and send in rockets. Hundreds of thousands of rockets were sent into Israel. And this happened in 2007. This happened in 2017, 19, way back even into 1986, 87, when Hamas first was established. Without the United States, you're talking the potential of tens, if not hundreds of thousands of Jews would be dead. These rockets were designed to obviously cause damage to households, to buildings, to automobiles, to standing groups of people. And without the United States, Israel would not be able to exist. We have given Israel over $330 billion in defense spending and aid over the last 37, 40 years. And without that advancement, they would have been wiped off the map a long time ago. The PLO, Hezbollah, JIP, IRGC, and the proxies would have ransacked Israel to be nothing left of what it is today. And the reason I tell you all of this is because there is something called Western democracy or Western ideology, and it is what the United States is founded on. It's the Constitution. It's the life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. It's what we try to bring to people through Christianity, but we also bring through our government and the way our capitalistic system works, and then overall our democratic republic. And Israel is the only state in the Middle East out of thousands of miles and millions upon millions, almost billions of people in a very small New Jersey-sized state that is surrounded and pushed up against the sea of other countries that tried to destroy them for 3,000 years. And we have a peace accord now that a lot of the Middle Eastern countries want to embrace Israel, trade through Israel, through the United States and Western philosophy. You've seen that in Saudi Arabia. You see it with United Arab Emirates, Qatar. You've seen it all over Indonesia and French Polynesia. You're seeing these countries start to embrace Western ideology. And the moment that we had the largest peace treaty in the Middle East between Saudi Arabia and Israel, Hamas decided to kill 1,800 Jews and murder them, behead them, rape them, and take them hostage in order to stop a peace treaty. So it's hard for me, since the United States is such a huge partner of Israel, to simply say, because it would be easier for the United States to step away and walk away and just let Israel fall. It's hard to do that when they have Muslims, Orthodox, Greeks, gays, lesbians, Indians, Hindus, Pakistanis in their cabinet leading the country. It is the only place in the Middle East that openly accepts homosexuality, that openly accepts the LGBTQ people, that openly accepts all races, religions. It is Western ideology. It is a bastion of America, like Japan is in the South Pacific. In the Middle East, Israel is the one and only country that represents Western ideology. And to let that fail would be similar to us holding grudges against England as they held us under tyrannical rule when they needed help in WW2, or when they needed help with terrorism from Iran, taking their planes hostage and killing their people, and we went ahead and helped England. So I understand your sentiment. It would be easier to walk away. I'm not a big fan of Ukraine. I'm not a big fan of the money we put into Israel, but I will tell you is that I believe it's something that not only do we should do, we have to do. I'm sorry that I went so long, and I really appreciate you allowing me to say all of that, but I would love to hear your response and what you think.
My response is, after all these years of everything that you just went through,
Yes, ma'am.
why do you believe now it's coming to a head?
It's a good
Do
question.
you believe it's a religious thing or a political thing?
God, I hope. See, here's the thing. My faith in politics and religion are very similar. I am the sheep that has run from the flock, and I went through some things when I was younger, and also I saw some things in the military that had me question my religious faith. Scratch that. My investment into organized religion, but not necessarily my faith. My faith is I have questions, right? And that's what I always try to tell people. I have questions for God, and I will never be able to serve him the way he deserves to be served. So I abstain and refrain from calling myself a Christian, not because I don't believe. It's because maybe I believe too much and I have some serious issues I need to address. It's kind of the same thing with politics. I love our country. I love the Constitution. I swore to defend it. I understand it fairly well. I believe in our system of government, but I don't believe in the people who run it, very similar to organized religion. I believe in the theory. I just don't necessarily believe in the practice. When you ask me a question, do I believe if this is biblical, what's happening? I don't have the answer to that question, but I can certainly say this is political, and this is an effort from Iran to ensure that Israel is not shielded, because if Saudi Arabia puts the shield of its country and its saber and points it at Iran, you're talking about the entire Middle East, and 22 other countries have the ability to flatten Iran. And that would mean Iran would be in a very similar position as North Korea is, surrounded by superpowers that have no desire to see it prosper. And Iran does not want that.
I got to admit, I'm at a loss right now because I believe it's more political. I don't believe that what we're going through is biblical. And I think that's why so many Americans are very confused about what's going on.
Right.
They believe it's biblical.
Yes.
And I believe that the Bible, because, and this is from my personal experience, the Bible that I grew up with is not the same Bible that is in circulation today. I'm 67 years old.
Yes, ma'am.
My mom is an Italian immigrant. She brought a book from Italy. and it was nothing like what is in America. One of my friends was from Hitler era Germany. She just passed away at 94. I see from my personal experience, not from what I see in the news or what I think I know, is where I draw my conclusions.
Sure.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I just feel like we are being drawn down a path that nobody has an answer to. If who's going to save America if we get attacked? Okay, Americans are always our sons and daughters, mothers and fathers, aunts and uncles. We have sacrificed. You're ex-military, or I guess
Yes,
once
ma'am.
you're military, you're always military.
No, I'm not a Marine, so no, I'm out. So I signed those papers. I'm gone, so they can go to hell. But yes, I served my country. Yes, ma'am.
Right. And do you this is really personal, and you don't have to answer it if you don't want to. But
I'll always
don't
answer
you
it.
feel like you do you feel like that you were screwed over?
No, ma'am.
With your beliefs?
No, ma'am.
Joining the military to protect your country?
No, ma'am. I don't feel that way at all.
So if you were called up to go fight for Israel, you would do it?
Well, I'm 50 years old, and I'm in fairly decent shape for a 50-year-old. If my country asked me to fight, the answer would be no, because I would be a detriment to the team. But if they asked me to come in an intelligence capacity, which I did, that's why when you made fun of my intelligence, it was actually my job. So I worked in naval intelligence for Office of Naval Intelligence in the Department of the Navy, and did a little stint with the Pentagon and the CIA as well. But I would absolutely, and I have been contacted multiple times outside of my career, and my duty was fulfilled. And I continued to work in some aspects with the government. Do I have my qualms with the government? Yes. And I very much do. But I feel a special connection to Israel because I've worked with the IDF. I've worked with Mossad. I have a respect for the people. I don't agree with everything they do, and I don't agree with what Netanyahu is doing completely. But I also understand it, and also told everybody to hold on, and nobody really believed me. When this happened on October 7th, the day it happened, I explained to everybody that Israel was going to take the gloves off to a point where there would be no quarter. And they did. They waited 30 days. And they truly gave those people a chance to leave. And some people can say, well, that's hard and it's tough. And how do you leave your home? When you have a terrorist group like Hamas, there is only one way to negotiate, and that is through use of force. And I have sat across from terrorists. I've seen terrorists through missile systems and targeting systems and satellites. I've seen them in every angle and facet. And no matter which way I would glean them from, no matter the device, whether it be my own eye or whether it be some synthetic ocular device, you can see the evil. So when you ask me, would I get involved from an intelligence perspective if I could provide any help with no equivocation? The answer is yes.
Well, thank you. And
yes, ma'am.
Please accept my apology for insulting you. I did not mean to.
You did not insult me, and you owe me nothing except that phone call. See, you, Janet, you are somebody who I admire because you actually have the wherewithal to pick up the phone and not be afraid to have a conversation. And you were walking into something. You had no idea what you were walking into. Everything stopped when I saw your picture. And I even put down cowardice in one point because I was so pissed. And then I just gleamed your profile and I saw the picture and my heart stopped. it's like you've been through enough. You don't need some fucking 50-year-old white guy yelling at you on the internet. You need someone to put their arms around you and tell you that you're loved, and you don't need pity. What you need is to have somebody have just a little bit of compassion, for God's sake. I mean, and say, hey, you don't need to have a worse day because of me. So in no way, shape, or form did I plan on laying into you when I saw your photo. Just FYI.
Well, I appreciate that. And I would like to add that I spent 6.5 years in a fight with my local government.
Mm-hmm.
I tried until I had a stroke. So I had to give it up. But the district attorney resigned his position, and he ultimately went to work for my law firm. So this is why I think I get very upset with Israel, Palestine, craziness going on in the campuses. And we have so much in this country that is so screwed up. I help my local police department get body cams. Okay. And then to have my local police department turn on me. Do you know what I mean?
I do.
It's like a good old boys club, and people don't understand that.
It is.
When I say it's a personal. I'm an American. I believe I'm a law-abiding citizen, and I was let down by my government. So that's why I get I guess, triggered with all this, with Israel and Palestine, and what is going on in our country when we don't even know how screwed up our own country is, that we have to worry about another country. That's Janet, where I get triggered.
Janet, you're 67 years old. You're 67 years old. You've seen things. Listen, a part of you died when Kennedy was taken from you.
Amen.
Okay. So Now, Kennedy was taken from me too, because my uncle and my mom lived vicariously through me and made sure that when they knew that they both probably weren't going to be around when the original files were sealed by Jackie Onassis and her family, and 2032 was coming, that my uncle said, you are going to open those files and you're going to carry on, because I'm not going to be here. So I had a little bit of weight added to my shoulders at a very young age of 6 years old. But so I always studied and I always learned, and I was I told you I was ADHD as a child, and I could not comprehend the most basic of things. And then somehow I unlocked it. And, I woke up with this brain, and it was like, oh my God, I can put things together, and I can memorize, and I can understand, and I can do things I've never been able to do. And I don't know what happened, but whatever happened allowed me to kind of see things through a different pair of eyes. But they took Kennedy from us. They entered Vietnam for billions and billions of dollars for defense contracts. The depletion of World War II, it justified the entire Cold War budget Vietnam did. And it generated, $511 billion to defense contractors. It was a giant cash cow for the United States. And it's been bad before. You went through this probably a little bit at least, for the civil rights movement. Suffrage was coming from the lips of your mother, for God's sakes. You had family members from World War II, and I'm sure you had relatives or knew of people who escaped and fled Germany. The fact that it's been bad before, it's not that we haven't been here before. You remember what happened on the campuses. You remember when the National Guard, you remember the Watts riots. You remember AIDS. You remember Iran and the terrorist bombings and holding those planes hostage. You remember our soldiers that were over there with Jimmy Carter. You remember the Iran-Contra hearings. You remember the Cold War with Russia and the secret war between the Politburo and the KGB and the FBI and the CIA, and holy shit, nuclear arms race was horrible. You remember Noriega? You remember the Ayatollah? You remember Gaddafi? You remember Castro? It's been bad before. It's hypersensitive now because everywhere you look, you are connected to it. You used to be able to turn on the news at 5 o'clock and 7 o'clock, and then you would turn it off and go, all right, well, let's go ahead and watch Wheel of Fortune, or let's go ahead and watch Murder, She Wrote, or let's go ahead and knit something, or let's go out to the local, soda shop or whatever and get a scoop of ice cream. Now you can't escape it. It's on every TV. It's in every gas station. It's when you get your oil change. It's when you get your hair cut. It flashes on your phone and says, watch me, watch me, watch me. The first thing you do when you go to bed is set your phone down and charge it. The first thing you do when you wake up is pick it up and read it. It's in your face. It is ingrained upon you, and you are living in fear because that is what sells today. And they deliver it to you in this tight package. But I don't believe that we are any more desperate than we've been since 1957 and 1961. I think it's just there needs to be a shift again. And civil rights shifted our country. Jim Crow shifted our country. The American Revolution shifted our country. World War I and II shifted our country. Vietnam shifted our country. Lesbians and gays shifted our country. Suffrage shifted our country. And we're going to go through another evolution. And I think this one's going to get bloody. And I think it's going to be scary. But it's nothing that we haven't done before, and America will be stronger for it. Let me just do this one more thing, Jen. I want to put your mind at ease. You said America never puts itself first, essentially paraphrasing. Actually, that's the furthest thing from the truth. Yes, we've sacrificed our sons and daughters. Yes, we've brought home family members in body bags. Yes, we've done some very stupid things, and the United States has done some horrible things. We flashed 730,000 people with a nuclear warhead, for God's sake. We've done horrible and devastating things. But you ask, who will defend the United States? And the answer to your question is the United States. We are hands down the most lethal, no matter how soft we've become, military in the world. We are more technologically advanced than every single country in the world. We have 3,000 miles of water to our left and to our right. We have icy, rocky tundra to our north. And we have drug cartels and horrible, inhospitable environments to the south. The United States is secure, except for two things. One is electronic warfare, and two is electromagnetic pulse or a nuclear weapon. And actually, there is a third thing, which is the country deteriorating from our values. You talked about the Bible. You talked about not trusting the government. There is a level of erosion that's taking place where our fundamental core and our values are being lost, and you will not recover them because it's a generational change. And the country doesn't believe in God. The country doesn't believe in our government. The country doesn't believe in each other. The country constantly battles, and there's really, that's the thing that's going to do us in. It's not going to be some rival nation. It's going to be the erosion of the American Western ideology that ultimately fails. And we're getting there. That's what we should be worried about.
Yeah, I agree with you 100% on that.
Yeah.
Families are not what families used to be.
No, they're not.
Wow. I really appreciate you
Yeah.
taking your time to talk to me.
Well, I appreciate you talking to me, because that's a great conversation, and I love having them. And in fact, I started this damn show for conversations just like that. And unfortunately, they're few and far between because people are afraid just to pick up the phone and stand for what they believe. So I admire your courage and your tenacity, and I'm glad you're not broken. That's the best thing I can say. You have every reason to be broken, and you have recovered from something, at least to the point of fooling me, that you seem to be in at least a decent spot, and I'm proud that you are. I really am, truly.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am.
And
Watch the show.
Time to
Sure.
talk to me and explain things some things I don't quite grasp.
You come back, you watch the show, and when you disagree with me, just don't leave and never come back. Do the same thing. Pick up the phone and call and say, hey, Matt, I don't agree with you. And it's a really easy thing to do,
right.
but I appreciate you. Thank you for watching.
Thank you very, very much. Have
Yes,
a great
ma'am.
rest of your day.
You too. God bless.
Bye-bye.
Yep.
God bless.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, that was cool. That's the way I want it to go. And it's good when it works that way. I want to say thank you very, very much for the tip we just received. It's always nice to do that. If you have not had a chance, Linda, thank you so much for that. $10 from Linda. You guys can go to linktapgo.com/thedumbshow if you want to donate. We appreciate it. It's something that we are funded by you. This show is 100% funded by you. We have so much work to do, and it starts with one conversation. I don't want conversations like we have sometimes. I don't like the yelling. I don't like the political bantering. I just want people to it's amazing. There are so many things that we can relate to each other on, and we always focus on the things we don't. It just doesn't make any sense to me. I can't stand it. It doesn't matter that I don't agree with her. And it doesn't matter that she doesn't agree with me. We found a commonality, and the common ground that we had, honestly, out of that entire conversation, the most common thing that brought us together, from my eyes, was the loss of her daughter. And I thought about the loss of mine, and it immediately stopped. And I shifted gears. Remember, in the middle of it, all of a sudden I started talking about other things because I was like, I'm not going to hit this lady anymore. Like, I remember I was going to blow up her page, and I saw, and I was like, oh shit, I'm done. I won't do this. I'm not going to do this to this person. And I think her commonality that she found with me is that I demonstrated just a little bit of concern for who she was as a human being before I decided to start getting into it with her. It's so easy to just take some interest in another person, and you're not going to win anything. But if you argue with somebody and just banter with somebody and just have to be right, what are you going to have at the end of that? You're going to have two pissed off people. But if you invest in somebody and actually have a conversation with, you've earned a friend. You've earned somebody that you can rely on. How do I know that Janet won't become one of our biggest fans? Maybe she'll never, ever stop by again. Maybe she'll just, that was what she got out of the show. But we never know because we abort relationships. And it's very similar to losing 67 million babies. We don't know who the next Jordan was. We don't know who the next Jobs was. We don't know who the next Stevie Ray Vaughan. And in these relationships, we don't know the person who is going to be one of our good friends. We don't know somebody who's going to revolutionize our life. We don't know if someone's going to motivate us to be better than we are. We don't know if someone's going to teach us a lesson that we need to learn in life. But we abort these relationships and we don't invest them, and it baffles me. It just does. Folks, thanks for watching the Donut and Friendly Show. I appreciate you. I thank you for the people who donated. It means a great deal. I think I got everybody. I think it was just one. But either way, wasn't expecting it. And thank you so much. If you have not had a chance, stop by thedumbshow.com, pick yourself up a shirt. We'll be back tomorrow, Monday. And that's about it. God bless everybody. Thanks for watching the show. We appreciate you so very much. And I'll talk to you next time. Good night.
Adjusting transmitter output.
This is the Don't Unfriend Me Show with your hosts, Matt, Leroy, Amy, Olivia, and Mike. Geopolitics, military analysis, and election coverage. Coming to you live on the Spreely.tv network and all major social media channels at The Dumb Show. Honest, direct, unfiltered. We can agree, we can disagree. Just don't unfriend me.